So can the NBA thread this needle, support free speech and stay popular in China?
I'm sure Adam Silver can figure it out. You know, it's a pretty complicated political and business issue. The NBA has a long-standing relationship with China. China loves basketball. They love the NBA. So full faith in Adam, who's done an amazing job in his tenure as commissioner to work through it.
So you got an eSports team as well. What would you do in this situation if a player or somebody involved with that team said something about Hong Kong that angered some people in China? Would that be a business deal breaker for you in China? Would you try to regulate their speech in some way or put out a different message?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one. We're all for freedom of speech, especially video games are a very different animal than traditional sports in that it's pretty boundaryless. With new leagues like the Overwatch League, which we are in, there is a sort of local component, and then in other games, it's more of an international. Everybody's a fan of their favorite teams and players. So, that's just that's a real political issue, and we definitely back freedom of speech.
Now, let's talk about the Overwatch League Grand Finals. Big win for your team. This is one area that makes me feel old because I know esports is big. I can feel it. We talk about it, but I don't feel like I'm really participating. Is it going to break through into the mainstream at some point? What's it going to take?
No doubt. It's getting there really fast. So we saw 2018, especially 2019, a big year for video games. Lots of video game costumes there knocking on your Halloween door. So I think a lot of parents realize that this is pretty much a mainstream activity at this point. 1 in 3 people on the planet game every month now. And if we just look at what happened last weekend in Philadelphia with the Overwatch League Grand Finals, sold out the Wells Fargo Center, 13,000 people watching live in person. It was crazy. Average age was not 13 years old. It was probably 25, 30 years old. And there were millions and millions of people watching around the world. So I think we're getting there very quickly. People say, is this the sport of the future? It's pretty much, the sport of now. And if you go 4, 5, 10 years into the future, this is what people have been doing for the last decade. This is their sport. This is how they hang out and spend their time. This is their passion. So they're going to just continue to do it as they get older.
Andy, I want to go back to China for a minute, whether it's the big business of basketball or whether it's the big potential business of esports. From the Kings' perspective or from the NRG perspective, what's on the line in terms of breaking into China and that marketplace?
Well, it's a huge market for video games, as we know, massive viewership for Overwatch League. All of Asia loves games, loves esports, loves to participate. So it's really important for the growth of esports and gaming as a whole. A lot of games, a lot of traditions started in Korea and China and Asia as sort of the home of video games. So I think the two are very intertwined.
What's the next technological level for esports? I mean, we kind of understand how processing power, especially GPUs, has become part of the overall gaming experience. But how much is 5G going to matter when it comes to people being able to view stuff like esports on the go? How much are mobile platforms going to matter in the future? What's going to really catalyze the business for you?
Well, I think we've seen the emergence of the streaming platforms, and competition now for Twitch across Microsoft and Facebook and other platforms. Of course, YouTube is huge now. So there's the accessibility of watching esports, of playing games is everywhere now. So it really fits into sort of that internet lifestyle of which gaming and gaming culture really is the core of it.
And what about augmented reality? The company that you used to work at, Apple, has been trying to push on that for quite a while. I'd say they haven't been successful, frankly. Very limited success. Does that start to come into play at some point?
I think so. We'll just see video games develop and the way people want to spend their time, their entertainment, their entertainment dollars, their passions. We'll see AR, VR. I'm sure we'll be able to, look down and see avatars and have a whole different viewing experience. And because the game is actually digital that we're watching as spectators, I think that the viewing experience will lead the way.
All right. Thank you. Andy Miller.